Have you ever left jujitsu thinking, man, I trained really hard tonight, but I don't know what I actually got better at? Was it like my guard passing? Was it my sweeps? Or was it something much smaller like just being a little bit more patient or not holding my breath as much? So probably you did some hard rounds, you gave all of the effort and you were in the mix, but then when you go to replay kind of the night of your training, it's very foggy. So it's not that you are bad at jujitsu, you are just developing accidentally instead of intentionally. So today, I want to show you what accidental development looks like, why it happens, and how you can start flipping the script on it. Because the faster way to improve with limited time is to train with more of a purpose. Accidental development means that you are moving, but you're not necessarily choosing what to develop. So your body is doing jujitsu, but your brain isn't really dictating the training. So the round starts to feel a lot more reaction-based, or you just always go with the flow. So if they pass, then you're going to recover. If they attack, of course, you're going to defend. And then if you get a sweep, you'll probably get on top. So you're just going wherever it happens. Now, early on in your journey, this is actually a highly form of recommended training because you need danger exposure, you need survival skills, and you need an overall baseline. But after a while, this accidental training will eventually hit a ceiling because you might be improving, but you're not actually steering where that improvement is going. So you're basically just hoping that the right things are going to develop if you just keep showing up, instead of training in a way that intentionally moves your jujitsu toward what you want it to actually look like. And that is how you can work really, really hard in training and still feel unsure about where your jujitsu is heading. So you might have the effort part down, you just have very low direction. Let me know down in the comments below, if you had to name one skill that you are trying to build right now, could you actually list it in one sentence? Or does it kind of change every single time that you walk into class? Now be honest, because most people can't answer it that clearly, but let me know down in the comments. This happens to a lot of blue and purple belts who have what I would call real lives. You guys aren't training every single day, or you're not training twice a day, or even 6 days a week. You are trying to fit jujitsu into your already packed schedule. So your brain is often really at capacity. You have family responsibilities, you have work, and you have other life things that are going on. And then when you step onto the mat, you don't really want to think anymore about your training. You just want relief, and then you want to be able to train. So then you start training more on autopilot, or more just whatever you are familiar with doing. So your nervous system has simplified what is happening, and your habits are really driving your training. And the tricky part is, by now, you probably have some pretty good habits or pretty good defaults already established. Things that help you survive, things that help you scramble, and even make your training feel productive. But these kind of automatic things can also be a dangerous trap to fall into, because you can go through an entire round training all of these automatic things, but not really develop anything to a significant level. You didn't really improve anything intentionally because you're just defaulting to whatever. And if you're not training 5 or 6 days a week, this becomes even more dangerous because your time is the most precious resource. So if you're training like 3 days a week, you can't afford 3 hours of just accidental training or hoping things are going to work out. You need to actually start structuring your training in a way that's going to compound. Accidental development means you are improving as a side effect of your training, and intentional development means you choose the skill to develop, and your training is built around that skill. So it's the same effort, but it's completely different outcomes. So accidental training gives you random progress and a random identity, and intentional training gives you predictable progress, an identity you are proud of. I remember talking to a black belt I had just met at a seminar one time, and we were exchanging these war stories about our jiu-jitsu journeys. And he had told me that he only now can train like once or twice a week. And what stood out to me the most wasn't that schedule, it was the reason behind it. He had said for years he was just following along and doing what was popular at the time, or what was going to make him quote unquote good at jiu-jitsu. Even though in his gut, he probably knew that wasn't the best thing for him long term, or it didn't really sit with his identity. But he just went with the flow anyway. And now he felt like his body and his training were really paying the price for it. So I asked him, why do you not just change what you are training? Like, why not build some different patterns? Why not work from different scenarios and just change how you apply your jiu-jitsu? And he looked at me and he said, well, that would basically be me starting completely over. And I said, yeah, but wouldn't you rather train more than just protect your like old identity of what made you good? And I could tell no one had really said that to him before. So I want you to hear this clearly. You have the power to develop your jiu-jitsu identity in the way that you want. And if you want my help in this process, if you want a more structured training around it, then that's exactly what my coaching program helps you do. So I just opened up a new round of applications to work with me directly. So make sure you click the link down in the description below. Now, how do you know if you're developing accidentally or intentionally? Well, here are 4 signs that I typically see that creates the most accidental training in students. Number 1 is that you almost never go into a round with a single objective. So you shake hands, you bump knuckles, and you just react or go with the flow. Now, that's not the end of the world, but it does guarantee the round decides how you'll improve, not you. Even one objective really does change everything. Escaping the bottom of the mount, or winning inside position, or just recovering to the closed guard, or having the goal of breathing slower. So literally anything. Number 2, after the round ends, you can't name what actually improved. So you can say that you rolled hard and you got a good workout in, but you can't identify a specific skill that actually got better. So you have highlights in your head, but you really have no key takeaways. And this connects back to the first one. When you have an objective, you can actually ask, did you improve? Yes or no? Number 3 is that your focuses change from session to session with really no continuity. So maybe it's triangles today, maybe it's passing tomorrow, leg locks the next, takedowns, or maybe you just default to the move of the day. Now, this isn't inherently wrong, but it's just accidental development. And this approach works better if you can train 5 to 6 days a week, because you're going to repeat these themes more frequently. But if you only train 2 or 3 days a week, it's going to take forever for these things to repeat enough to really get enough value. So you need longer focus windows. You need time for certain skills to compound. Number 4, your improvement feels extremely inconsistent, sort of like a roller coaster. So some days you feel amazing, some days you absolutely feel terrible, and you don't really know why. So certain sweeps work one day and then they fail the next. Certain escapes feel easy, then suddenly they don't, even against the same type of training partners. And that usually means you're not measuring anything of value. You're just going off of pure vibes or how hard something is. Accidental development is extremely expensive because it wastes your limited time. So you can train consistently and still feel like nothing is really stacking up. It can also kill your confidence because confidence comes from repeatability. And so confidence is knowing that if you end up in a certain situation, you have an attack plan or a game plan to get you the results that you want. Accidental training is hoping something magically good is just going to happen. And this is why people plateau at blue and purple belt. Not because they aren't tough, not because they don't know enough, and it's not because they aren't training hard. They plateau because their training isn't organized in a way that creates a compounding effect for their progress. So they are getting better generally, but they are not sharpening at any specific area. And here's the worst part. You can't tell if what you're doing is actually working or not. So you can't confidently keep it up, and you can't confidently change it if you want to. So if something is working, you give up on it way too early. And if something is costing you, you don't kill it fast enough. And this is where students often fall into what we call the blue belt blues or at purple belt, I like to call it the purple belt paranoia. Now, here's one of the simplest strategies that you could start using tonight to move from accidental training into intentional training. And I basically call it the point and fix strategy. So it starts by completing this one sentence. After I shake hands or bump knuckles, I'm going to do / try blank. So it could be breathing slower. It could be keeping your elbows tight. It could be recovering the guard, winning inside position, whatever matters to you, whatever you can point out and say that you want to fix. Now, I want you to put that sentence in your phone, maybe put it on a sticky note or put it somewhere that you're going to see it right before you go to training. Now, writing something down and actually doing it are going to be two separate things. So to increase your likelihood that you're going to follow through, I want you to say it out loud to yourself before each round. So you're going to say what you wrote down. Now, this doesn't guarantee that you'll even do it or that you'll be successful with it, but something about saying it out loud before focuses your attention on it. And so you get bonus points if you're able to do that. Now, here's how you can score this thing to hold yourself accountable. And I'm going to make it really simple. So give yourself 1 point if you wrote the sentence down before training. That means you're off to a good start. Then you'll give yourself another point if you actually attempted what you wrote down at least once in training. So you can say yes or no to that. Then you get a bonus point next to that one if you actually said it out loud. And then at the end, add another point if you actually checked the box if you attempted it. Whether you were successful with it or not, still give yourself a point for checking, and then give yourself a bonus point if you actually were completed. So you can score up to 5 points, but honestly, a passing score is just 3. If you're able to write it down, if you're able to attempt it, and then you are able to check it, that's how you move from accidental training into intentional training. Once you start doing this, you'll notice something extremely important. Even when you're not intentionally training, your habits are still building by default in the background. And that default is really, really hard to reveal completely. And so that's why we're going to talk about that in the next video. So I'll show you how you can start identifying what's been developing in the background on Autopilot and how to reveal this almost hidden code of what your training has been building underneath the surface. We refer to this idea as your ghost game. Once it becomes more visible, you can actually decide whether you want to keep it or whether you want to change it completely. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave it a like, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and take it easy, and I'll see you guys in the next one.